nerds? I think this might be the last video. Not because we're getting close. We're just kind of running out of ideas of what to talk about.
This may be our rambling video.
It's going to be a little bit rambly. I'm the Matt.
I'm Waldo.
And we're still driving to East Texas.
We're on 7 from going from Crockett to Nacogdoches area.
Whoa.
And we'll see how it goes because it's already, what, 1 in the morning?
1:15.
Yeah. So, probably wondering, what are we doing? Well, we are heading back to Central Command this weekend.
I'm yawning.
Yeah, he's a whiny one.
He's been yawning the whole time.
You haven't seen me yawn.
They can't see you at all.
I know. So we've always known that where we are at in Central Texas is kind of our Southern Command, if you will.
Yeah.
We knew that it wasn't going to always be a permanent fixture, but we didn't know where we were going. And then suddenly, for a story coming in the hopefully not too distant future, we got invited back to East Texas.
He did. I'm just going because why not?
Not only did we get invited back to East Texas, but we got invited back to Central Command.
Yep.
So we're going to take care of some groundwork that's going on up there, which may or may not flux the schedule that we have coming up for the next year.
We should hopefully be getting the next starting video out on September 9th.
Right. So
with the follow-up.
I was about to say
along.
The next part is a two-parter.
Yeah.
So we're halfway through the notes and everything like that. I know I am. So when we sit down to record the next episode, we're actually recording both episodes.
Yeah.
And so that'll give us time to kind of get caught up and get everything. Y'all, I'm letting you know now. When we found out what was going on, since February has been the big thing?
Yeah.
We didn't think this would ever happen.
No.
We thought we were going to be floating around the Central Texas area
for the rest of our life.
Yeah, and be drawing Social Security down there and stuff like that. And so, out of the blue, one day I come to Matt and I said, "Hey, we may be moving."
No.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I know you've been looking for property around, Central Texas." I was like, "No, pine trees."
No. So with that in mind, and we're talking about kind of childhood homes and childhood dreams and such.
Yep.
I had an idea for our final video that we could kind of ramble and.
Well, we'll see. We've still got
possible final. Yeah. Possible.
We're still about.
Here's the magic trick of the magic. This is going to be the final video because we're just going to put it out last. Whenever we edit them down, we just put this one out last.
I'm waiting for you to keep talking and tell me what this is for.
So this is going to be, because I know one of them already. We're not putting a number on this, but key moments in wrestling history that drew you in and made you a fan again. And I know one, because we've talked about it, was the first time we saw Mayu on that highlight clip.
Yeah.
So stuff like that where like you actually just all suspension of disbelief was gone. You were drawn in. This is a thing I love. I love wrestling.
There is a warning in this one. Okay? I could already tell you now. This is going to require a lot of discipline on my side to not go off into what got me to go out of it.
Yeah. We're not going to go into that stuff.
So
I will punch him in the arm if he starts trying.
I will say, to summarize, that both Matt and I had a break around like 2001 to 2006.
I did have a forced break from about 2003 to 2004, but I was playing a lot of wrestling video games at least at the time.
Right. So there was that initial break that was out of our control. Yep. We were both exiled to Monrovia.
Yep.
When I came,
for a while, I was like 6 months behind, and then I finally caught back up.
We were trying to catch back up. We tried it first, and then for me, it just wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
I think for me, what got me back into wrestling again, was when we started getting back into the WrestleMania parties.
Let me caveat before we go too much further yet.
Uh-huh.
Not just what got you back into wrestling, but something that reminded you of why you liked wrestling as well.
Oh, okay.
Even if you were already into it at the time. Sorry. But go ahead with this
Well,
one.
that kind of ties into the WrestleMania parties because we couldn't have them forever because, one, Skype was barely a thought at that time.
Yeah.
And also, it would have been dumb to have a WrestleMania party over
On Skype.
Skype.
And we were in different places, different in life and in geography.
Yeah, so Matt and I sat down one time and figured it out that we've probably traveled or driven between each of us individually easily 500,000 miles as an individual.
Yeah.
And so, or no, what was it? Like, no, a full 1,000,000 miles.
I was going to say, I think we did the math that
Yeah.
we could have driven to the moon and back.
Right.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact number at the time, but yeah.
We did calculate the amount of time that we've been gone over the past 10, or the first 10 years.
Yeah.
And we were gone, what was it, about 75% of the time?
Yeah.
From where we're going to tonight.
Yeah.
So that made it rough. For me, wrestling was all about the enjoyment as a group, as a family, as an individual, and a show for everybody. And that doesn't mean always that I need Liberace at WrestleMania 1. No dig on anybody. That was, at the time, that's what got kicked wrestling off.
Yeah.
For the national and the global side.
Weirdly, because I know you're going to the WrestleMania parties that we started post spread out. Weirdly, our combination of wrestling started with Royal Rumble parties.
Right.
We didn't really do WrestleMania parties at first. That's just a weird thing that just popped into my head.
Yeah, we used to do Rumble parties.
Rumble's what pulled us and our friend group of that time into a wrestling group. Sorry, continue. That just weirdly popped into my mind as a memory.
I don't know if I should say it here because I know he watches. Trucker. So there was one part at WrestleMania party that we had at his place that turned me off from wrestling for a while. And it was not because of the wrestling, it was because of his place.
No, yeah, cut that.
Okay.
So the WrestleMania watch parties, which would have been about 2008, 2009, is when we started kind of getting back into watching WrestleMania parties.
And then I got exiled again.
Yeah. So that's for you about that time frame though, 2008, 2009.
And I think it was
just the bringing people togetherness.
And I think what really brought me back into it was the return of the actual dead man.
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with American Badass Taker.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with anything that was really going on at that time. It just felt like wrestling had kind of left me.
You wanted the spectacle back.
I wanted not necessarily the spectacle.
Sorry, the wonderment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything else that I knew was gone. And so when Dead Man came back at 20, that was kind of like the return of something that I grew up with.
I got you.
That I enjoyed. So, and what made it even better was the fact that Paul Bearer was with him. So I remember very clearly in 1990, like I remember the event, I don't remember the day, but it was Survivor Series where Taker debuted. And I remember as a kid, I was like, that's badass.
Yeah.
Like, I don't quite understand why an Undertaker is wrestling, because in my family, we know what Undertakers do.
Yeah.
But, Jesus, that's a big old dude.
That's fair.
What about you?
I think a big one for me, and I'm going to name drop a little bit here real quick. A big one for me, we've talked about it before. We've gone to shows. We've done live events. But for whatever reason, like Inspire Pro was great, the local stuff, WCW, all that stuff we've seen live, it was always fun. But there was something about that first Mission Pro show. Hell Hath No Fury, right?
Yeah.
I know you weren't there, but for me...
No, I was watching from Monrovia, but go ahead.
Something about being at that show rekindled, and I think it kind of ties into your aspect as well, the community and having like a group of people that actually enjoyed being at a place and seeing a thing. Not that we didn't have it at those other live shows, there was just something different about being at that Mission Pro show. And I think it was because we were there, I was there at the beginning. I was there from the ground up, pretty much, because they had rebranded the entire show with that show, or the entire company with that show.
Yeah.
And just being there from that and being a part of it, and now we've been to every show in some form or fashion. One of us has been there. We've seen, unless it's outside of Texas, which doesn't count because those shows don't exist.
We told one of the ladies that works there too. He said, "Are you going to what was the last one? Tulsa, Oklahoma? Are you going to be at the Tulsa Taco Festival? You will be missed."
You will be missed. And like not just the wrestlers, but also the people we've met along the way through them.
Yeah.
And going to these events. It's definitely rekindled a love for wrestling, and it's one of the things we've said it many times in these couple of videos is we try to stay away from negativity. They help foster that positivity and making it fun and feeling like a kid again.
Now, if you watch that first, if you go on TitleMatchNetwork.com and look up Mission Pro Wrestling Hell Hath No Fury, you will see Matt on there looking down every now and then, and that's me texting him saying, "How do you keep managing to get in front of the camera?"
I had really good seats for that first show.
Yeah, you did.
So that's one for me. What do you got?
I really do enjoy going to the Mission Pro shows.
Yeah.
For the exact same reasons. When we were sitting on the couch and looking through wrestling clips, randomly one day, I had reached a point in wrestling where, now this is prior to Taker retiring, Taker was my last hold on the kayfabe. Like, as long as he was there, it exists. But I had just reached a point, was it 5 years ago now? Round about 5-6 years ago, I had just reached an absolute point of feeling bottomed out with wrestling. And it wasn't because of any event, or any one event, or any one person. It was, the well was kind of dry, so to speak. There weren't very many companies out there. There weren't very many options on TV. Not trying to disparage Impact, TNA, whatever they were called at that time. There was just things going on there that, like, it was actually them that created the rule that I have for Rent-A-Kid.
Okay.
And that is, I will not go to a show, me personally, Waldo, will not go to a show unless I can know that I can take Rent-A-Kid with me.
Yeah.
Impact kind of went away from that very quickly during that particular era.
Okay.
Well, then I started looking around, and then I just gave up. And it's like, you're not mad, you're not sad, you're going to try to come back later and fill that void again.
Yeah.
When we started watching those clips on YouTube, that was, we really, you were kind of in the same boat as me at that time too.
I was still following along with everything, but I wasn't watching anything.
Yeah, you were big events, but
I was reading
major events.
I would always watch Mania. I would always watch Rumble. Other than that, I only read results.
It's about the same thing.
Yeah.
We just hit that point one day where it was like, you know what? I want to see some wrestling. I don't want to have any context to it because I don't want to hear about the silly or goofy stories going on, because at that time there were some silly, goofy stories going on. I don't want to get into any names, but you know what I'm talking about, the baby doll.
Yeah.
That was like not the punted one, the other one.
No, I know what you're talking
Yeah. So like, I saw a little bit of that at one time, and I was like, I don't want this, because the hokey overshadowed the, and nobody deserved that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we started firing up the wrestling clips, and we found the Stardom clips, figured out who Mayu was, and then from there the crusade was born.
It was like a really weird thing of like, it was a 3-second clip. We somehow managed to track down who the person was, where they wrestled, and like 10 minutes later we were at Whataburger, and you were debating, but you were debating in the sense of, I really want you to convince me to do this type of debating of whether or not to grab a Stardom World membership right then and there in the Whataburger parking lot.
Well, we had some other stuff that we were looking up too.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of trying to figure out what was going on.
But we ended up getting the Stardom World and then going back and I think binge watching like 4 or 5 episodes that night.
We started at the very beginning.
Yeah. When it was kind of hard to push through.
Yeah, some of it was, but like the matches were good.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell what the story was because.
No clue what was going on.
Yeah. Do what?
No clue what was going on.
No, we knew there was a couple of them. We knew that like for the first.
Clue what was going on.
Well, hold on now. She finally got her release. They stopped holding her hostage. She got to go back to school.
We were making up our own stories. There was hippie chick. There was the kidnapped schoolgirl. There was depressed Arissa.
Yeah.
The emo chick. Yeah, we had no. Mayu just looked like someone who showed up in some sweatpants and put a star on her shirt.
Yeah.
Like, we
Get
had
in there.
no clue what was happening, man.
Yeah, well, that's where the joke came up too. Is like, we said if we ever did a podcast, and I think this was like what 5 episodes in to Stardom.
Yeah.
I looked over to Matt and I said, if we ever did a podcast or anything like that, it'd be for us covering this. And the tagline would be, "Want to hear 2 East Texas rednecks talk about Japanese women wrestling?"
I think, and I'm gonna piggyback onto that one as a moment to another thing there. We were watching big events and just following stuff along, but I had picked up some NXT stuff here and there, and I forget which it was, but I think it was either DIY versus Alpha Academy or DIY versus Authors of Pain.
Oh, and was it the breakup thing?
No, it was the matches those groups had.
Yeah. Oh, they had some great. Yeah.
Or was it Revival? And anyways, there was a lot of good tag teams in NXT. And so we, with the joking around, kind of talking about the podcast, we started watching NXT. So we were watching NXT.
Because we had heard a little bit here and there.
I'd seen stuff like Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. I had seen stuff
Those
like
poor orphans.
I had seen some of the early day stuff like the Bo Dallas stuff already. So it was nice to kind of.
Well, he's
watch
another
the whole
person. Wrong
thing.
place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. Yep. So it was nice because we had NXT, we had Stardom, NWA started up shortly after that. Go check out our terrible podcast over NXT and NWA before we had videos. Kyrie was coming in at the time. Ember Moon was there. Asuka. Like, NXT really revitalized some love of wrestling for me at that time point.
It did, and it did it. Stardom and watching NXT and the NWA and getting into it. We had gotten so far back into wrestling that running across that one bad match that got us to stop reviewing NXT, we were still into wrestling.
Yeah, and we were still watching NXT stuff. We just didn't want to review it anymore. Go back and find out what that match was. Baron Corbin and
I hate this match.
I can't remember the other guys.
We were so mad after that
we
section.
were done, dude. I think we might have been negative on that episode too.
No, I cut a lot.
Did we cut it?
Yeah,
I even refused to go back and listen to it because I was just so done because of that match. Nothing against Baron Corbin. Love Baron Corbin. It was the person he was fighting.
It was everything about that thing, about the event.
It was the person he was fighting.
Some of the commentary got into it a little bit.
Yeah, there was just some stuff that wasn't great on that show.
Just nobody had any timing or chemistry.
Yeah. The women were killing it. That's when the 4 horsewomen were coming up. They were killing it at the time. I think that was our match of the night. Was one variation of the 4 women fighting each other.
I think it was Charlotte, right?
I think it might have been Charlotte Bailey, but I don't remember for sure.
I just remember. I just remember at the end of us recording, we as soon as I hit the stop recording button, I hurled my notebook across the room.
And we didn't mention it then, but like the weird part about it was we were trying to at that time set a schedule for when we were going to record, and neither of us, like, we didn't sit down and go, we're not doing this anymore. We just never brought up the fact that we needed to do another recording. And it was like 2 months later maybe, and we were like, we're supposed to watch and record the next show.
Yeah,
but we were like,
I'm not doing it.
We're doing Stardom. And it was because we didn't want to be negative. That's a key thing.
Yeah, and we also kept dropping hints to that Kyrie was pirating her boat on the way.
Kyrie was supposed to be, when Kyrie got to NXT, we were supposed to
We
stop.
actually, if you go back and, if you were ever to go back and watch, we dropped hints, and even though it was audio at that time, there are a couple of visual hints here and there to indicate how many episodes were supposed to be remaining before we jumped to start.
We were a ways. We still had like a year or two.
We had a year, but we were only.
We'd be starting Stardom now.
But no, it was a year our time.
Yeah.
So we were only. I want to say we were 13 episodes off.
Which would have been a year.
I know, our time, not the year.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. It would have taken us. We would be a year into the podcast now of Stardom.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break here because I am turning off of 7 onto the Bat Road.
Not a break. Let's go ahead and end this video.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to end the video here, and then we'll be back in just a little bit. We're going to do one more before we call it.
We'll do one more?
Yep, because we got 20 miles to Nacogdoches.
Graceland? Oh.
And then we're going to... do you remember in 1960s Batman where they would exit the road and the cops would never be able to find them for whatever reason?
Yep.
Yeah. So when we get to Nacogdoches, that's what happens to us.
Yep.
And so we will be back in, 5 minutes? 1 week?
1 week.
All right, don't forget, everyone is different and everyone is good.